Welcome back, everyone. We have yet another week of MWC. It's the second week in we're streaming, and it's for the round of 16 stages. And right now, we have a match between South Korea and Singapore. Unfortunately, Singapore is not online right now. So we're going to have to wait for them, see if they can get on in time.
Yep, so we have about 10 minutes until the timer runs out and it's called a win by default. Hopefully it doesn't get to that point, but currently what we do have is all 6 South Korean players in and 1 Singaporean player in the server currently.
So we're going to have to waste time until then,
basically just chilling for a little bit. This is, of course, a winner's bracket match because both of these teams won. South Korea won against Sweden last week, and Singapore against Poland. So that's actually a pretty exciting match, Singapore versus Poland.
Which other match do we have this week that could prove exciting?
There's a few exciting ones lined up, I think. I'll need to open up the schedule a little bit. Okay, let's have a look. So obviously we have this match, which I think if we do get the Singapore players coming in, this match could be quite close. So I'm pretty excited to see if we actually manage to get the last 2 Singapore players in. Afterwards today, for the rest of Saturday, it's a pretty quiet Saturday. We only have 3 matches today. So Finland versus Russia is going to be up after in about 2 hours time, and then 2 hours after that we have Colombia and Italy, both of those being losers bracket matches. So those will be the first teams being eliminated after qualifiers. So really important matches coming up there. Then obviously tomorrow we've got Philippines, Canada, China, Chile. Well, those 2 matches are going to be hype. Those are going to be big matches. Winners bracket as well. All 4 of those teams are kind of insanely strong, we've seen from last week.
And then we also have Vietnam versus Hong Kong.
Oh, that's a really big one. That's a winners bracket match, which a couple of years ago you would have never expected. The 2 teams coming from essentially low to unseeded type teams coming in as basically high seed, Vietnam being 5th seed in the tournament, so some rising stars facing each other in the winners bracket there. And we can see through this entire bracket, we've got a lot of strong teams. Not a single one of these winners bracket teams is weak by any means.
Yeah, there's a couple of matches I'm really excited about. For example, Malaysia versus Japan.
Oh, that's a classic matchup.
Yeah,
Rice versus LM.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be pretty intense, I imagine.
Yeah, definitely. I remember Malaysia-Japan happened a couple of years ago, I think, in the losers bracket, and that was a really exciting match. So, yeah, we'll be definitely keen to see that one. In the losers bracket, we've got a few strong teams left as well. I know, what was it, Spain? Spain showed up in a massive way last week, just only barely missing out on the win over Japan by 100 points or so overall. So they're looking like an extremely scary team in the losers bracket right now. I think Australia-Taiwan as well is going to be a really close match, being right next to each other in the seedings as well.
Apparently we have word that they're here.
Oh.
So
it looks like we have 3 players from Singapore in the lobby. Not their full 6-man team, but enough to get the match started, it seems.
Yeah, It's better with 3 than, well, just 1.
Yeah, more of a chance of winning, definitely. 1v3 is not the way to go, especially in Mania.
How would that? Yeah, it's impossible.
You gotta,
One.
you
Yeah,
gotta
either.
hope that there's 2 disconnects, basically, from
Yeah,
the other team.
at the
But I
beginning of
mean,
the map.
South Korea definitely not the country that is known for bad internet. So it'd be a little bit much to ask for Singapore to win 1v3 against that. But good
Yeah,
thing that we have 3 players in. I think it is Xven, Expandion, and Ryunosk being the 3.
fair enough. I think that matchup should at least prove somewhat competitive. It's just that they have to play every map now, I think. The other 3, we'll see if they will come in a bit.
Yeah, hopefully the other 3 Singaporean players arrive at some point later on, but for now, Singapore has narrowly escaped a loss by default against South Korea. So we'll be able to get some points being played at least here. Yay.
Yeah, some matches, some maps. It would be very exciting. I mean, disappointing if there were to be a win by default in the first match of the week. They're always like something that's pretty
definitely
interesting to watch.
Okay, so we got the rolls coming in. So Singapore has won the roll with a clean 88, and we'll talk about a little bit about this matchup because I think Singapore showed some pretty massive strengths last week, specifically in the rice pool. So I feel like South Korea might look to ban some of those more comfortable rice picks for Singapore, and we do see them ban Open Your Eyes, this more of the speed pick out of the rice pool. Definitely one that Singapore actually performed exceptionally in last week. I think Singapore probably going to be looking to ban one of the LN maps, potentially SV. Although I feel like neither of these teams really excels massively in SV. Maybe South Korea has a slight edge there, but
they might ignore SV from what I can tell.
Yeah, I think there is a fair chance that both teams ignore SV, at least for the start of the match. I think Singapore probably looking at something like Capsel.
Or Paintings.
Or Paintings, that's true. One of those to ban against South Korea. It's interesting, actually, to see South Korea with one of the highest qualifier scores for the LN maps in the qualifiers, but didn't pick LN at all last week.
Interesting.
Oh, it looks like it's going to be Hyoryu. So the SV map, more of the slow jam type SV map of the two.
Which means all LN is in the board right now.
All LN, 3 LN maps that South Korea can pick. I think all 3 of them will be really, really solid for them to pick. But another thing to actually note, because Singapore only have 3 players, maybe they had to ban the SV map because the SV players are not in.
That's true.
That's a potential reason to ban.
But as we said, they're not all that keen on SV.
Yeah, I think South Korea probably favored either way, even with all 6 players for Singapore. But it's always hard to tell with SV. Singapore would know better than we do what their scores are.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I can see some of the scores, but I'm not gonna...
No spoilers here.
Yeah, no spoilers. So I'm just waiting for them to pick. I guess they're going with Brain Fog.
Brain Fog is the first pick. Okay, I would have thought maybe one of the stream maps.
Yeah, that would
for Singapore. I think Iterated Singapore getting a ridiculously high score on last week. For now, we're looking at Brain Fog, more technical map. Kind of strange to see tech maps being picked first, actually, in a way.
Yeah, they're always the risky wild card kind of
Yeah,
thing.
a bit less comfortable with the rice compared to the more straightforward jump stream maps.
And yeah, I guess right now we're waiting for it to start and we'll see how it goes. We might pick the stream map, like a stream map, after South Korea's pick, which I'm not entirely sure on what they would pick, since they ignored LN maps pretty much last time around. I'm not sure if they like might wanna go LN against Singapore.
I think against Singapore would make a lot of sense for South Korea to pick. I think South Korea picking Rice against Singapore is definitely not the move. So it has to be LN or SV really. Maybe hybrids, but hybrids would be decent. I know South Korea are really good at hybrids, obviously. A very well-rounded team in general.
Yeah, hybrids also another thing that they'd probably be more into picking.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to get in straight into this. We'll see how both the teams do. Some really fast jacks in this map. 181 BPM mini jacks.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to mess up.
It's true. That's why it's like one of the riskier Rise picks in the pool.
Girls frontline having a really nice time though. Only just breaks the 100%. Quite a 300 notes into the map, it seems.
Yeah, Glenn doing really good. We'll see if they can keep it up, but unfortunately, it looks like there was a miss on the side of Singapore.
I think that was a real miss there. Xven's keeping up really well with Girls frontline, and Ryunosk is holding even with Gaesol on South Korea's side, so Transcendence really holding that advantage over Mr. Expandion. Especially with that miss coming in, so South Korea is going to have a really good advantage. We're already halfway through the map.
You know what's like a very funny thing about us as a cast is that we sometimes say, I think that was a real miss. Like, it's like the freaking...
That's true. That one should have also been a real miss coming in from Expandion, maybe not quite warmed up enough due to just coming in on time. So that's 2 misses now for Singapore, and I mean, unless South Korea find a couple misses themselves, it's not going to be switching anytime soon. Look at these accuracies on South Korea, all holding above 99.7. Really solid as a team. Xven is keeping it up really well though. 99.93 still.
Yeah, they're doing really well for themselves, it looks like. Did they like even warm up?
That's actually incredible. Ryunosk was the one who was in here early. Ryunosk finding a miss there, actually. That's only 1 FC left right at the end of the map. And it looks like, unfortunately, Singapore is going to lose their own pick first. Xven with a really nice ratio there. That is actually an amazing ratio.
Yeah, that is
69
really
300s is ridiculous. And that's with no warm-up?
Yeah, I believe.
That's kind of ridiculous, yeah. But only 1-200 South Korea from, like, as a whole team, only getting 1-200 there, with some really good ratios themselves.
They're very consistent, which I guess is it's going to be South Korea's game plan, is to be consistent. Wait, what? South Korea just randomly gaining a point. If you look at that, there it disappeared.
They've won 2 points.
Already, they're so confident.
Just 1-0 for now, but it is their pick, definitely, so there is a very good opportunity for them to go 2-0 up, and they're going to go for the Sakura Mirage, the LN maps. As we said before, South Korea was one of our best LN teams in the qualifiers, so this makes a lot of sense. Singapore struggling a little bit relatively with the LNs.
Sakura Mirage probably being the more consistent, like, straightforward LN pick.
Yeah, definitely.
So it makes sense for them to go for it strategy with the more risky picks of
Xavel, close enough. There's a Q in there somewhere. But yeah, definitely this is probably the the easier one to get accuracy on, like by far the easiest LN map to get accuracy on. Is just a little bit more dense. Right, so for players that can keep up with this kind of thing, it's much more comfortable, I feel like. But
Yeah,
that might also mean that Singapore could be quite comfortable with this as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they did on the density picks. Did they even pick LN maps? I forgot.
I don't think South Korea picked any LN density maps. Singapore did play both LN maps last week, I believe, though.
I see. Yeah.
Just barely losing a whole one on those. Yeah, they could be. We'll have to see. It looks like we have some more Singapore players coming in. More Singaporean players arriving. That would be 5 out of 6, if I'm correct at counting these names. So pretty much getting all these players in almost at full power now. So we'll see if this changes the outcome of the match.
Yeah, they might switch around players here to just give them a bit of an edge.
Yeah, especially when we're switching between Rice and LNs. I know most teams would have a different team for these past 2 maps that we're looking at.
Yeah, like it's very rare with a team that has only 3 players that always play no matter what map it is.
Yeah, that is definitely really rare.
Unless you're like a 3-player team. I think Germany last year was like a 3-player team.
Yeah, it does happen sometimes, and always much better, of course, to have a really wide roster of players that can play anything, because then you see teams right now. We've got South Korea. You can switch their players in and out as they please, because all of them can play everything. We know of. We're seeing Kalkai Fanboy coming in for Girls Frontline here now, for instance.
Right. Should be everything up any second now.
Yeah, we've got Joseph coming in for Singapore, one of the main players that was playing last week. Definitely one that can play LNs to a good degree as well.
LN proficiency, that's always like a thing for some players. You're very proficient on LNs or you're very proficient on Rise. But sometimes some beasts are proficient in both.
Yep, you'll see some that are definitely good at both. We are seeing Gaysol and X-Men in particular staying on for both of these matches. We'll have to see when we're starting. I think we're just sorting out most of these sudden appearances from the Singapore teams.
Yeah, they're kind of haphazardly getting just into booting up their computer or something. So it's a bit difficult to just get on directly. Be ready.
Okay, here we go, getting on to South Korea's pick now. The first LN map that we're seeing for this match. I'm sure we're going to see more later on.
See. A bit of a pause.
Yep, 10 seconds into the map, perfectly tied still. As we can see, 0-all.
0-0. And if it keeps up, it's going to be a draw. Wait, what's happening?
Just getting a bit of a reset here. We'll have to wait and see. None of those misses are real, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Give it 2 seconds. 500,000 point lead for South Korea. Okay, here we go. Actually,
looks like
It looks like Singapore has a bit of an accuracy lead now. Joseph is crushing this right now. And Gaisel finding a miss there. Hold on a second. This is looking like Singapore can run away with it. A little bit of accuracy drops coming in from Joseph there. But with that miss, it's going to balance it out quite well. It's not the longest of maps, 1 minute and 43 seconds, a really short one. We're already halfway through the map now, and Singapore are holding on to a fairly decent lead.
Yeah, only halfway through. They really... South Korea really has to dig deep here.
Yeah, and it's not just that miss either. Look at the accuracies going around. Flying Samira is kind of struggling compared to the other players. Expandion finding a miss, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough. Expandion still holding higher accuracy.
Oh no!
Flying Samira. Oh, Expand finding a miss though. And that's going to give the lead right back to Korea. Unless there's a second miss from Korea, there's no chance of coming back now. We're at the very end of the map.
Yeah, it's almost over now. Just one miss is enough to swing the advantage again.
Oh, but we're at the very end of the map. It's too short to come back. Awesome!
Wait!
Last note, okay. Last note, just barely safe. But South Korea managed to sneak that win back in the end. Singapore had the chance, but just couldn't hold on to it until the very end there. Joseph actually crushing that in the end, as alongside a Kalkai fanboy as well, both getting the same accuracies.
I didn't expect South Korea to miss, especially a player like Gaisel to miss that way on this map.
Yeah, definitely. You can see Gaisel's ratio. If you ignore that miss, that would have been a stupidly high score.
Yeah.
Like, the accuracy from Gaisel was so high there. But now, we'll have to see Singapore... Well, now they basically have to win their next pick, right? You can't afford to go 3-0 down at the very start of the match against a team like South Korea.
Yeah, they probably have to go for something more streamy, of which
I think Robotic Girl or Die Winnipeg would be very good choices here for Singapore.
I definitely would go for either of them if I was Singapore.
So Robotic Girl being the little bit slower but longer stamina draining pick, while Die Winnipeg is the faster stream pick of the pool. It looks like they're going with Winnipeg.
Yeah.
So this is actually, well, despite not being the stamina map, this is still quite stamina draining by itself.
Like single streams are always pretty difficult for like development settings because hacking them kind of difficult.
Especially at this BPM, we've got a 225 BPM coming in at OD 8.5, so a real act test at this level of BPM, and we've got the Singapore team here, Xven, Ryunosk, and Joseph, being the same team that got, I think, one of the best team scores on Iterated last week. Looks like we're seeing the same team coming in for South Korea as the first map, with Girls Frontline and Transcendence subbing back in.
They're still offline. What's going on? Apparently, South Korea wants to invite Flying Samira, and they're like offline. Not sure what's going on there.
We'll have to see what happens. It looks like it looks like we've got Pokemon coming in for South Korea now.
Alright.
We'll just wait for both teams to end up being ready, but I think this is definitely a must-win situation for Singapore. This is one of their best maps out of the pool, so they can't really afford to let it slip away to South Korea now.
Yeah, they did really well on their first pick. It was just the unlucky misses that weighed them down, unfortunately.
Okay, the map has changed to something slightly different.
Are you serious? We got some politics in here.
I don't know how that happens, but hey, you know, it just happens sometimes.
Sometimes Putin just really wants to be played.
Out of all maps, yeah.
Out of all maps. Okay.
Oh my god.
That's
Technical
going into a clip.
difficulties. Well, it looks like we were just about to start the map as that happens, so players have likely started, but the very start of the map is pretty chill, so we're not missing the meat of the map just yet.
Yeah, stream picks usually varies between straight streams and more consistent.
Oh, and here we see, look at these accuracies, 99.9 or above, but 5 of the players. It's just Pokemon right now, struggling behind. 99.7 is still really high, but everyone else is holding 99.9 in the entire lobby. Xven, 99.97 is so comfortable with this right now.
So good at this.
But we're in the second half now, and it only gets harder, especially on your stamina. The patterns get a little bit more awkward. And it just keeps going from this point on, I think. So still holding on to this lead. Singaporean players dropping a little bit of accuracy, Ryunosuke and Joseph. Gasol is still holding very close to 99.9. It really is just Pokemon right now, holding very slightly behind the rest, just 0.1% behind everyone else. Joseph finding a miss, and that's a really unfortunate miss right at the end of the map as well, unless there's a miss from South Korea.
Yeah.
Korea are gonna steal this back yet again.
This is not good. This is just a couple of seconds left, and that's it. Just one miss is enough.
Decide about that one miss. The accuracy you can see here in favor of Singapore. Xven with the stupidly good ratio, only 64/300s, and Singapore's ratios just as a whole looking better than Korea's there.
Yeah.
It's just that one miss that decided it.
Really. This is why you want to be consistent. Even if you're just consistent at every map, you'll have a greater chance of winning. Like the entire team is just straight up consistent. But otherwise, the Korean team didn't do bad either. Gareth's front line having 109 320s. Marvelous, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, definitely. And just Korea as a team looking so consistent right now, as you said. That tournament consistency is one of the most important skill sets to have at this stage in the tournament as well, even with the maps being so hard. Being able to FC consistently is going to put you in such an advantage. And now, with their own pick, I think they might go for another LN.
Yeah, the thing is that since Singapore did look so strong, like ratio-wise, they might want to steer a bit away from that, because if they do get a play with no misses from either, then that's just a loss for South Korea unless they get too many 200s. So they have to look into more hybrid or LN. Might go for hybrid. Actually going for paintings.
I'm going for paintings, yeah. I think hybrids would have been interesting to see, definitely, because even though on paper we were saying South Korea should be better at the LNs, Sakura Mirage was a little bit close for comfort.
Yeah,
I think Singapore definitely has the ability to capitalize on any mistakes that South Korea would make.
And it looks like they're switching players now to someone else that's the more LN-oriented player. Who was it last LN map we saw?
Last LN map we saw Mr. Expandion, but I'm not sure if that was the player that was supposed to play. I think there was some talks about subbing in someone else instead. we'll have to see who gets subbed in for Team Singapore now that they have basically their entire team, as far as I'm aware.
They did really well on the last talent map, but painting is a bit more different because there's lots of really painful, like, anchors and stuff.
I don't think you can really get more different than Sakura Mirage and Paintings in terms of LN styles. That Sakura Mirage, much more streamy map, much more density focused. Paintings does get quite dense, but it requires a lot more concentration, especially with the accuracy and the release timings.
And it's also a really long map too. Earlier, the other map was around 1:45, and painting is one of the most longest maps here at 3:14.
Over 3 minutes long, and it actually, I don't know if this is for everyone else, but when I'm playing this, it feels a lot longer than 3 minutes as well.
Yeah,
just the amount of focus you need, right? To be able to get good accuracy on this map and not miss at the same time requires so much focus that you kind of get drained much faster than you normally would, I feel.
You need to have that reading stamina. That's definitely a thing. But yeah, it does feel a lot longer to play this than the 3 minutes it's advertised as. I want my money back.
We'll see how comfortable these players are with getting good accuracy on these releases. So far, it looks like Singapore having a slight advantage in accuracy out of the gate. Flying Samira is just lagging a little bit behind. But with all 6 players holding the FC, it's not going to be a very large lead.
Both Sven and the guys all looking really strong right now. They're probably the strongest players of their respective team, just in terms of raw accuracy.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing that throughout this match. And Singapore's lead is staying pretty consistent so far, but we're getting to these denser patterns now. Really easy to overhold some of these releases, and we can see it flickering now back. A little bit of accuracy drop from Japanius.
The thing is that since this is such a long map, I think that South Korea went for it because it's so long, and we have seen that Singapore sometimes gets some mishaps there. Right there.
And just as you say it, right on cue, X-Men finding a miss on one of the denser sections there. It's gonna flick over to South Korea, but ooh, it's still flickering somehow. The accuracy from Singapore is really trying to pull back this score back. But it's gonna take a little bit more than that to counteract the miss. X-Men back at 400 combo, and it's a small lead for South Korea. We are only about halfway through the map, so there's a lot of opportunity to come back. The accuracy is almost enough, but Joseph finding a miss as well from Singapore. That's 2 misses, and now South Korea is going to start to pull away with the lead.
Yeah, it looks like the reasoning for their pick is pretty solid overall. They banked on them having misses or something, but otherwise it did look really even.
Yeah, much longer map definitely has much more opportunities to find these misses. But the scores, the accuracies are still really close, so if there is any miss coming out of South Korea, I think there is the potential for Singapore to come back. There's still a little bit of time left.
Yeah, there's like one more course to go where the release difficulty really picks up. I think, I don't remember the song very well. I think it was this place. It's like the Lost Art section.
I think it might require 2 misses maybe at this point from South Korea, but it doesn't look like it's gonna happen.
And Gasol still holding really consistent throughout this map. He started off with like 99.9, and now he's 3 minutes later 99.88.
Yeah, keeping up that accuracy for the entirety of the map is no joke.
Yeah.
So easy at 200s on so many of these releases, and he got not a single one.
That
The
is
score V1
insane.
double S with only 200. This is a 1 to 13 ratio
It's like one
on an LN
to,
map is
yeah,
absolutely ridiculous. But really close overall. I think if it wasn't for
analyst.
those two misses, it could have very easily gone to Singapore. But South
Yeah,
Korea showing up as the more consistent team when it comes to combo so far this match. They're going to go up 4-0.
and now it's Singapore's turn. There's like one good option for them left. The rest are a bit of a wild card.
Robotic Girl is definitely one that I would say is likely.
Yeah, that is the pick.
Lawnwake and One of None are the other Rise maps, but they are wild.
Yeah, one of
they
them
are really wild.
But we did see Xen get insane ratio from Great Fog. So
looks like they are going for robotics, so they're going for the stamina. Another long map actually, so there is the potential for chokes, but it's not. The patterns don't. They're not as chokeable patterns as paintings were. So perhaps this is the one where Singapore can come out with that three-way FC to really battle South Korea's accuracy.
So far, they're trying to change players over to one of the Rise players. But indeed, if they can just keep not getting AM recognized, they have a very good chance of bringing a point against South Korea. While it doesn't look very, like, opportunistic positive for them right now, because South Korea is up 4 points. And they still have many picks that goes against like Singapore's weaknesses. Getting at least like 1 or 2 points is better than nothing.
Yeah, definitely. And this is where it has to start for Singapore as well, because even though there are a lot of picks that South Korea have, we've seen that Singapore can very well get close. So it's just about really managing to score them in the end. Managing to close out these points is what is keeping South Korea ahead right now. So if Singapore can maybe change the momentum a little bit with this pick, could start to claw their way back into this match.
Yeah, there's still a chance for them. Remember that they went into this match pretty unprepared for the most part. So they can like just warm up as we go and try to find that consistency.
Yeah, maybe a bit more warmed up now. That is a good point as well. You'd forget with their ratios that they didn't really get much time to warm up.
Yeah. Like Sven just showing up, like literally just booting up his computer and then getting a 69, 300.
Yeah, absolutely crushing it in the ratio department. We'll see if they can pull off another one of those performances in this map.
Yeah,
one of the longer ones as well.
And also remember that many of these players are pretty new at tournaments in general. Singapore has a lot of new players. I think Rionosk is the only real veteran of MWC. So there's a lot of nerves, man, and you gotta learn how to manage them.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now it looks like the lead belongs to no one right now. Both basically tied, but X-Men 99.99 right now. Girls front line really close behind 99.97, and just across the board there's so many high accuracies. It's both teams basically tied across the board.
Yeah, it's looking like everyone is really strong at this. But it's also really long, so we'll see what happens. So far, Sen is really good. 99.98, and it looks like his UR bar is like straight laser focused on the middle. It's even deviating a bit.
Insanely close between these two teams right now. No one's really dropping accuracy at all. Girls' frontline dropping from 99.97 to 99.95 is the most notable thing to talk about right now.
Yeah,
but
everyone's
insane. Any kind of single 200 is enough to flip it at this point. And we're only halfway through the map.
Yeah, we're halfway out. A bit of a break.
Bit of a break? I think they might have been able to see the scores there.
And then they're like...
This is where the nerves really kick in.
Yeah. Nose might see a little miss, but I don't want to curse like I did before.
Yeah, we can see Joseph and Gaysol holding identical accuracies. Ryunosk and Popamon really close as well. X-Ven and Girls Frontline is where most of this difference is coming from. Just 0.05% there, with X-Ven's 99.98. And oh my god! Girls Frontline finding a miss! The chokes are coming from South Korea's side this time, and Singapore just have to hold on.
Yeah, just a bit more. You can do it. Come on.
They can't afford to let up now because Girls Frontline's accuracy is still 99.9 despite that miss.
It's so close. But indeed, just that one miss, really looking bad for them, for South Korea. And it looks like it might be Singapore's taking this point again.
Oh, don't say it so early!
Oh my god. I didn't know it was so much more to this map. It's like the circle thing fooled me.
X-Ven's accuracy is still above Girls Frontline by 0.03%.
Oh my god, what
Joseph!
happened?
Oh, that was close. You cannot afford to do that at the end, but they just managed to keep it at the end. 2 misses at the end for Singapore, but luckily it was late enough to not matter.
Yeah.
59 though from X-Ven.
How?
Oh, you can only imagine if that was not a miss there, that would have been
probably
one of the highest scores we would see for any map. This entire stage, I would say.
Yeah, I don't think there's many other players who can like feasibly top that score. I'd say try to do some quick maths. I'm bad at maths, unfortunately, but that's still 1 to 300 or something.
That's a crazy ratio, and even with the miss, the score ends up being insanely high because of it.
Yeah, and now let's see what South Korea's pick is. Might go for...
There's still one LN map left.
Yeah.
There's also the Gimme the Blood, which has not been picked. I'm not sure if that's going to be picked at this point. But Cavcell, definitely something to consider for Korea. There is the hybrids as well that haven't been touched, a few there.
Yeah, we still don't have much of an idea how they perform on the hybrids. If South Korea does go ahead and pick Cavcell, it means that Singapore probably going with something like one of none. Well, it looks like they're going with SV, actually.
We're going with SV. So Singapore did ban Hyoryu. Maybe they're not comfortable with the SV, but at the same time, it is entirely possible that Singapore just practiced one SV map and banned the other one.
Yeah, plus they have every other player, I think, aside from one in here. So...
This is going to be an interesting one, because both teams are fairly close in SV skill, I would say. Maybe I would give the edge to South Korea, but at the same time, this stage in the game, Gimme the Blood is not the hardest of SV maps. I think at the end of the day, accuracy is going to play a very large factor, and we've seen how good Singapore's accuracy is.
especially Zen, I'll see if his accuracy stays the same regardless of SP or not. I know for sure that some players drop their accuracy as soon as they find even 1 SP. I'm one of those players.
That definitely happens a lot, yeah. We'll have to see.
I got faith though.
We have seen some very exciting misses so far this map, and I think there is a couple of sections in this map in particular that can really trip up some players. So the choke potential is there in spades.
Personally, haven't seen much of this map, so it will be a bit new for me to see what's gonna happen. Maybe one of those really tricky SVs will land a miss, but if I'm not mistaken, this is one of the more readable ones, not memorization heavy.
Yeah, it's more of a reading SV, definitely, but it does require a lot of practice to get it right, especially this middle section. There's a few individual parts in the mid section that can really trip you up if you haven't really practiced it.
Indeed.
But we'll have to see. The first half, or the start and the end of this map, pretty straightforward. So it really comes down to who has practiced this midsection the most.
This is pretty exciting. Let's see. So far, seems to be a pretty simple beginning, but with a few teleports, and it doesn't look too hard. But a bit of 1-6 first.
Everyone faring just fine, it looks like. No massive accuracy drops just yet.
Yeah, the pooling for SV has definitely been a lot more, well, easy to swallow than any other MWC. Much simpler SV, and the maps themselves are also much less dense too. So it might be.
It's quite close so far, though. The accuracies are pretty well tied between the two. Japania's actually finding a couple 200s there. That's going to drop the accuracy down. So South Korea's going to have a slight lead. But now is where we get the slowdown. We'll have to see if anyone messes up the transition here. Oh, a couple 200s from Pokemon. But it's not going to be enough to take away the lead.
Pretty good.
Everyone's still holding on. South Korea maintained their lead. Everyone nailing this as well. Sven getting 1-200.
Yeah, unfortunately. It was from like a single LM, so sometimes LMs in a SV map can really mess up your rack. I guess you don't really know where the release is, and release timings.
Oh, definitely. With some of these LNs as well, it's very easy to mess up the release. But the rest of this map, we're past the hardest section. So now South Korea just need to hold on to this accuracy lead to be able to win their own point.
Yeah, and it looks like this is going to be the first map with 0 chokes across the board.
Yeah, 6-way FC from all players here. And we can see just the ratio looks like to be the biggest difference here. South Korea's ratio
really
being overall much higher than Singapore's. 200 counts pretty similar between the two teams. Actually, exactly the same between the two teams. And Expandion getting the V1SS.
Gasol calling girls frontline noob for Gasol getting a higher score.
That's a classic. That's what you do.
Yeah, you don't wanna diss the opponent, you wanna diss your own team members, that way you have the highest chance.
Yep. Always. But now, match point for South Korea. Singapore on the ropes. Gonna need to win every map from now on. And they're out of really comfortable picks. They want to go with Rice still. It's going to get spicy.
One of them or a long wake. I'd probably go with one of them because it's probably plays more to Xen's strengths. And
Yeah, it's a very difficult one. One of none being the wacky one. Some really hard to play anchors at the start of that map. And in
yeah,
general,
they actually went with one of none, I think. Xen at least.
Oh, yep, they're going for one of none. So avoiding Lawn Wake for now. Avoiding that burst tech. I have to see how this plays out. Definitely much less straightforward than the Rice maps we've seen so far.
Might be a bit interesting to watch, so just because we haven't seen any maps like it being played so far. I except maybe Brain Fog, that's more of a mini jack heavy pick.
And we're getting into this now. 4.4 star map, very easy, clearly. Star rating never lies.
Indeed. You always find those kind of 3-star maps that are really techy, and you just introduce them to a new mania player, and they just fail. I love doing that.
they do exist. They exist. A lot of those exist out there. But this one, definitely in that category for being way harder than the star rating makes it seem to be. Some really tricky sections in this as well. We'll see how players fare on this.
If I'm not mistaken, the snaps are pretty variable in this.
Oh, they are. They're hard to time.
Yeah. That's either that's like a very polarizing skill set. Either you're really good at it or you're really bad at it. We'll see.
And obviously, alongside with all the wacky things that happen in this map, plenty of potential for misses.
Yep. Just depends a bit if they can remain consistent, and it looks like just regarding last map, they were looking fairly consistent.
Okay, here we go straight into it. Part that doesn't look very dense, but these anchors are really hard to time.
Yeah, they're pretty confident too.
Ryunosk actually taking a massive hit in accuracy, below 99% now. But Xven and Joseph by themselves managing to drag that accuracy back into Singapore's favor. Ryunosk now recovering up to 99.3 just about now, and Singapore looking like they have a little bit of an AC advantage. South Korea, all three players hovering around that 99.7% mark. So it really is. Xven, how do you get 99.96?
How? I know that. I think we have a couple of more stream-heavy sections there.
Yeah, now is where it gets denser towards the end of the chart. I have to see if the lead is so tiny in favor of Singapore right now. Could swing back very quickly with any kind of slip-up.
Yeah, single 200, and as I said that, Gasol unfortunately got himself a 200 somewhere. Looking like most of the South Korean players are like, they can hit it alright, but they're not exactly doing the best they can on the act department. Meanwhile, Xen just casually keeping his 99.96 throughout the entire thing. How?
That's so ridiculous. But that last section, not a single player in the lobby having any trouble with the denser section, really did come down to that first part. And 38! 998.6 from Xven.
Oh god. Yeah, they're going for Carousel.
Such a weird to time map,
South Korea.
somehow managing to, I don't even know.
That is
Really strong performance from Singapore. But now South Korea picking faster than we've ever seen so far this match, straight into Cavcell.
Yeah, they already made up their mind as they were playing.
This was in their minds from the moment they entered the lobby. We're going to pick Cavcell as the 8th map in the match.
It's one of my really bad maps. I think I didn't really do a good enough job at editing the last section, which might be a bit tricky because of how both the LN anchors and everything interplays. There's like many anchors with great songs going on there.
Yeah, there's a huge amount that goes on in this map, and it ends up being really hard to time. Like, getting accuracy on this is really mean.
Yeah, I think I saw one score, like, the highest score I saw on this was like a 1 to 10 ratio from someone. Which
1 to 10 ratio?
Yeah, that's
is that
really good. Maybe.
Maybe.
But no, it actually isn't. But it could be that Shui can get that kind of play on this. I think when they played it on the LN tournament, this was one of the qualifiers for it, which was probably the hardest. I think Shui got like a 993k on it with a really good ratio.
Yeah, this is definitely one that's going to be extremely tricky to manage to get good AC on, but at the same time, as with all LN maps like this, if you focus too hard on trying to get good accuracy, you're going to end up missing.
Yeah, that definitely happens.
But we'll have a look. Singapore actually keeping in their same team that they have for the rice picks for this. Maybe trying to sharpshoot that accuracy a little bit on the LNs as well.
So I'm looking just as comfortable on the longer kinds of notes than as he does on the very short ones, the food that is grown in Asia. You know?
Yeah, the noodles, right? But it looks like Rionas getting off to a little bit of a shaky start at the start, getting quite a few 200s in this opening part, and that's giving the lead over to South Korea for now. Joseph and Xben are holding some really good ratios. Gaesol on South Korea, extremely solid there, 99.86.
Yeah, he's looking really comfortable in this indeed.
The difference seeming mostly from Flying Samira and Rionas just 0.1 apart, and Gaesol holding just above the other players of Singapore as well.
And it looks like, yeah, we just entered the really tricky to time part, and Gaesol not even flinching, still keeping a really good ratio. 99.84.
The lead is really close still. Just holding on. What? From
What just happened?
In one of the easiest notes of the entire map.
Just that one place, are you serious?
That was a really bad place to miss. And now Singapore managing to take the lead again. They have to not miss though.
Yeah.
They cannot afford. This is match point for South Korea. And we're at the very end of the map. They just need to hold on to their combos, and Singapore have this.
Yeah, it's almost over. Just this last couple of patterns, and yeah, it is Singapore's. Are they looking to make the comeback?
That was a crazy, unfortunate miss from Gaesol. In the break section
and it
as
was
well.
Two misses.
So close to South Korea closing out the match, but now Singapore, this is their big chance now. 3 to 5, yeah. Singapore's own pick. They could close it out. If they manage to win their own pick now, it'll be 4 to 5.
Yeah, and then they have to win potentially a hybrid.
Yeah, there's no more LN maps.
Yeah, and
LN maps are off the table. Singapore have Lawn Wake if they really want to go for it. So we have 1 rice map in Lawn Wake and 3 hybrids left.
And they're probably going to go for Lawn Wake. It's going to be...
I think Singapore's accuracy has been pretty nuts enough that Lawn Wake might go in their favor.
Indeed. Just waiting for them to make their inevitable pick. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think the Long Wake map was the Speed Stream pick, if I'm not mistaken.
Speed Stream would have been Open Your Eyes, which was banned. Lawn Wake is more of the Bursty Tech map, and also I think OD 9.1 for a Burst Tech map is kind of absolutely brutal. It's cruel.
Indeed.
But they're going for Shakushane.
Interesting. If I'd pick a hybrid, I'd rather go with Etude. Just
I think Etude is more straightforward between the two, but I feel like Singapore, the last two maps we've seen have been on the very not straightforward maps, and they've found success there. So Shakushine, definitely one of those less straightforward maps to be able to act. More technical than the other hybrids, but also
it's
easier physically.
It's still pretty surprising that they did pick this, because they have shown to have incredible rise proficiency, and it's their last pick.
Yeah, that's true. This is the last pick that Singapore are going to get no matter what happens in this. So this is going to be the first hybrid we see in the end. Maybe Singapore just not feeling confident on Lawn Wake and wanting to instead kind of just try something completely out of left field, something new.
Yeah, it might also be because it's longer and they're hoping that South Korea just messes up somewhere.
That could be it as well. It is a really long map. It's 3 minutes long, one of the longer ones of the longest of all the hybrids, definitely. But it's also the easiest, I would say, the physically easiest of all the hybrids.
Yeah, I guess that also makes a bit of sense, because it looks like Singapore gets misses on really dense parts just accidentally, so they might want to go with something a bit more, lighter.
Definitely not something that you can really relax on, though. There's some really technical sections that are very, very easy to miss on. Very easy to get 200s on, and it kind of doesn't stop. There's not really much break in this map.
Thankfully, the OD is more forgiving than Lawn Wake, so...
Oh, way more forgiving.
Be a reason.
Yeah.
What just happened? Well, I guess nothing really.
Yeah, so far all the players, after a pretty decent start in general, flying Samira and Ryunosuke a little bit behind the other players, but nothing too serious just yet.
Gasol holding a pretty strong performance so far, but Sven doing Sven things. Thankfully, the talents are definitely more easier than Celsius.
Yeah, the LNs directly aren't really the hard part about this. It's more about these transitions between the more technical rice patterns and the LNs. Constantly going between the two, and the mini jacks really hard to trip up on.
You mean it's really easy to trip up?
Really easy, yes. I said hard, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
Don't worry, I'm not that good. I don't struggle to miss.
Yeah, don't worry guys, I'm not J-Cats.
But so far, it looks like Singapore is coming out with a little bit of a lead here. Flying Samira, basically tied with Ryunosuke, it looks like. And Transcendence just a little bit behind Joseph. Xven just a little bit in front of Gaysol, so it's just very, very tiny leads across the board that Singapore are getting in this accuracy department. And they're just barely winning. It's halfway through the map.
Yeah, anything can happen still. we have just a tiny bit more to go, and it's really, really close that even 200s, like getting a bunch of 200s in one spot can really spell the difference between winning and losing.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's not really any break from now on, I don't believe either. So, and
Oh, no,
my god,
really?
Ryunosk finding the miss. That's definitely going to give
looks
South
like
Korea the advantage now. Ryunosk
yeah.
dropping some accuracy, but the accuracy is still tied with Flying Samira, but a second miss is going to really hurt Singapore. Now South Korea has to miss if Singapore wants to stay in this.
And it's the veteran player. Of all players, I least expect Ryunosk to do that. And it's almost over now. Not a lot
Very
happens for South Korea to just mess up on.
Oh, and Ryunosk finding another drop at the end there as well. That's going to seal the deal here as we're getting into the outro. No chance for a miss here, surely. It is going to be 200 from Flying Samira, but doesn't matter at the end of the day. It is going to be South Korea taking this up 6-3. Especially with the ratio flex right here.
Yeah, he's just showing off.
1-20?
Yeah, that's around that. Like,
that's 1-20. Oh my god. About 1-10 from Gasol as well with the Scorpio 1 SS. Overall, just South Korea being the more consistent team on the day, they are going to end up winning this match. Singapore, of course, still in the tournament. This was a winner's bracket match, but they are going to be sent down into the loser's bracket.
But yeah, congratulations to South Korea for winning this match. They're going to go up in the world into winner's bracket, yeah. I'm not sure who they'll be facing off the top of my head. I guess we'll see once the brackets shows up. But in any case, really well played from both teams. Singapore showing off really strong against one of the best teams of MWC.
Yeah. Yes. So it looks like Singapore is going to go up against the winner of Switzerland and Spain, which is going to be really exciting, actually. Some strong teams there. And Korea, I believe, is going to be going up against the winner of, what is that, Thailand and United Kingdom? Oh, some spicy matches lining up potentially next week already.
Yeah, stay tuned. So
make sure you stay tuned for those. For now, though, I think we are going to go into a bit of a break because the next match is going to be in about 50 minutes from now, I believe.
Yep, I'll see you there.
Yeah, so Finland versus Russia. Stay tuned in 50 minutes. We'll be back for more action. So see you guys.
Take care.
deepness can get through. Realize I fall along with you, and we're looking into gold.